that he didn't see a lot of Facebook ads in Japan for the type of market that you're serving, which we've mentioned before, either means it doesn't work or it's a great opportunity, and there's only one way to find out.
Yeah.
So, but what are your other takeaways from our Saturday meeting?
So it was really good hearing the way that he kind of has everything framed, where you have your offerings, but then you tailor each of the lead magnets to the specific offering. So rather than just having a lead magnet to you, and then they get to kind of pick whatever offer, again, being very specific, but also the types of things, having as lead magnets. And so there's some things that I already have, like an assessment or a downloadable or something like that, but that he talked about this 5-day course or, just other things. And then I guess the fourth, fifth, whatever thing that stood out was really that idea of getting people excited about it rather than, because I approach marketing with so much fear and so much like, oh, I'm selling to you and I feel bad and I'm going to take your money and, completely ignoring the fact that I am providing a very valuable service for people that they need. And I would pay someone else if the, roles were reversed. And so
we are paying someone, to help us. So.
Exactly. So it's that idea of, reframing it and not only getting them excited about it, but me being excited about it as well, I think is going to help a lot.
Well, and we didn't talk about this, but one of the advantages of a 5-day challenge, he talked about generally was feedback, right? Even if you can get 5 to 10 people in your first challenge, then you can get feedback on which points were really helpful for what specific business problems.
Yep.
And, and so you can get some testimonials, and that gives you a ton more traction, and you can try and, with your next challenge, work out the things that were kind of mad, keep the things that work for people, etc. It's great feedback opportunity. So it's one of the reasons why we kept it. But another thing about a 5-day challenge is I think it is a good medium between the two extremes of entrepreneurship, which is give everything away for free all of the time and basically not be able to run a business because you're not getting any money, or being very stingy with the value you give people, so that no one ever wants to try you out. No one's you're not giving people enough to trust you and develop a relationship enough to buy from you, which is especially important if you are selling something like coaching services, which are kind of a premium product. So with a 5-day challenge, when you are giving something away for free, but unlike some situations where you can give effort away for free for months or years, right? And hoping that 1 or 2 people get to you, the 5-day challenge ends in 5 days.
Yeah.
And there's a clear action point where they can, either get on your email list for continued free updates, and, maybe get a client later, but you're not spending any more additional time on that one individual unless they choose to engage with you, buying your services, right?
Yeah.
So there's that cutoff, or, they go directly to buying your services. And then from your perspective, right, you've got all of these people who are learning, working through their projects, and you get to see the ones that are actually invested enough.
Yeah.
That you could say, hey, looks like you're getting a lot out of this. I would like to work with you one-on-one. Is that something you have, is that something you would like to? That kind of thing. So versus, right, if someone's just kind of cruising along, watching the videos, not responding, not doing anything, you don't have to push yourself on them. So it's a way the people who are really interested in what you have to offer can set themselves out, so you can feel pretty comfortable selling to them.
Yeah.
Rather than, feeling the equivalent of going door to door.
Yeah. And I think that's, so much the kind of mentality I have in my mind about sales and things. Right. It's the, getting people who don't want the thing to spend money that they don't have on something they don't need, and I'm that's not really what it is here.
Well, and in the beginning, you're going to have and you are doing a lot of personal outreach just to figure out what resonates, get that personal experience, kind of bootstrap things.
Yeah.
But I think the long-term goal of a funnel is you have a lot of artifacts that you produced, videos, challenges, things that are recorded, automated blog posts, etc., that people can consume. So, and then, invitations to take the next step, like join the email list or sign up for coaching or whatnot. So at the point that, you actually can interact with them, they've already shown that they're interested.
Yeah.
And it's actually one of the reasons why, for instance, in a VSL video, a lot of times they recommend you don't have like the buy now button visible at the start of the video, right? You make sure people have sat through at least a few minutes of the video.
A little bit of gatekeeping there.
Right, just to make sure they're actually really interested in it. So you're not spending a lot of time on calls with people who are like casual and curious. You're only talking to people who really need what you have to offer.
Yeah.
Now, of course, that means you need to nail your offer.
Yes, that's true.
Kind of the other piece of a 5-day challenge is you're coming up with you're trying to get someone like a quick win every day for 5 days, which is a challenge, right? English is not something you learn in 5 days, but what is a way you can get someone to be using their English to produce something of value each of those 5 days, so that at the end of that they're much better positioned to market or network or etc. And so that is one of the things that that you can target. And so you're leaving for Japan on Wednesday. You have 2 days. And one of the things I was thinking of is we can nail the 5-day challenge, then, or at least, have your ideas and maybe even a greater subset than the 5-day challenge.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or actually just a 5-day challenge, because I don't want to promise that we're going to do something that doesn't end up in this 5-day challenge. But then you'd have 5 offers.
Yeah.
And I could kind of test those out in combinations or individually. I can use the different types of ads. Jeremy was talking about the lead magnet. So just directly like, hey, sign up for our 5-day challenge. At the end of this, you'll have a video you can use to market or introduce yourself to people virtually.
Yeah.
And then, right, I could, whatever the 5 points are, I could try them out individually in the ad and see what resonates. And then we could try a more traditional ad. I could, maybe if you have time to approve a post or something like that while you're in Japan, I could write a blog post.
That would be amazing.
About it, or like maybe give me some points or something. I can ghostwrite a blog article. My main priority is still going to be the getting contracts to basically fund more experimentation in marketing. But that would be something where, if you're gone for 2 weeks, I don't want to like put the marketing down for 2 weeks.
And I don't want to put it down either. And so that's one of the things that I'm going to be very cognizant of, staying involved in things. It'll be, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do these morning things every day, mostly just because it's...
Oh yeah, I was assuming I'd probably do them.
I figured as much. Yeah, it's like 11 p.m. right now in Japan, a little after 11. So it's late.
Well, and I think with what we get today and tomorrow, maybe some of the things I can go is just like a screen share is like as I create stuff, and it's just like I'll go straight up behind the scenes, like this is the marketing stuff I'll do, and this time could be my time to kind of work on that and forward that.
Yeah, well, and I can send response videos or whatever that you can include or something like that, so you can kind of see the process as we go through this in separate spaces. One of the great things, though, about all of this is I'm going to be in Japan. And, like...
Period. That's one of the great things about all of this.
I love Japan. It's ridiculous. I wish I didn't love it so much. But being there, right, and being surrounded by Japanese people is, one, a huge motivator for me, but I'm going to be around people who need my services, and so I can just ask and talk to people, and like that's what I do best. So if I'm able to, yes, I'm going to be working, and that is my primary goal while I'm there, but there are going to be times when I am going to be available, and times where I can just like talk to people. And that's always really fun for me. And so I could do some, market research while I'm out there. I can do a lot of different stuff. And so that's kind of one of the things too, thinking about how can I maximize my time while I'm there, maximize my ability to focus, and really capitalize on that part of me that does really well in person, right? Because all of this marketing stuff, all of this, stuff that we've been doing, making, VSLs and marketing copy and, outreach and stuff, like that's hard for me. And I'm willing to learn and do it because it's important. But now I finally get to be around people who like everyone could use this to some extent. And so even if not all of them, meet my avatar, explicitly, I can at least really make the most of that time.
Yep.
So.
And we'll get more into market research in the business tip. I think we've had plenty of focus tips, and market research is germane to what we're doing right now.
Very
so we're going
so.
to, we'll go do a series on market research. But before that, I just kind of want to do a quick brainstorm of, all right, 5-day challenge. What are things that you think, and you can validate this in Japan, but what are things that you think someone, again, could do with English that they're not doing right now that would help their business, that would get them like tangible business results or allow them to do something they're not doing right now?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. There's the place that everybody always wants to start, which is the Jiko Shoukai, which is your self-introduction. And so the people that I've worked with personally, they've all got that down, but that's, again, a very small subset. And so it's a really great intro to the people who I haven't worked with, right? That, hey, look, you want to be able to introduce yourself to people and just give a quick, not even like elevator pitch, but just talk about what you do in a way that will be received well. So that's kind of the biggest thing. Because when I say received well, when Japanese people introduce themselves, they say what company they work for. But in America, we say what it is we do, right?
Right.
So like I work in IT, or I am a, nurse, a pediatric nurse, or, something like that, right?
Right.
As opposed to, I work for this company.
Well, and this is...
Or I'm a businessman.
Right. I'm a businessman. I love businessmen.
That's a thing. That's literally like I'm a sarariman. I'm a businessman. Okay, doing what?
I just think of the Adventure Time businessman every time I hear that.
Amazing.
Anyway, but even that, for instance, if you're going to put that in the 5-day challenge, right? There's a difference between someone who says, "Hey, I'm an accountant," which is not that interesting. That's not really how you would introduce yourself for impact.
It's true. Introducing yourself for impact, that's a different thing.
And so, right, that's more of the start with why. Lead with your mission or your benefit.
Yeah.
Right? So, I help, technical managers and leaders get, inspired and excited employees, rather than employees that are always spilling work over sprint to sprint or whatever, right? Like that could be an example if I were pitching myself specifically to managers of technical startups, which is an area I'm looking into. So, obviously, again, you have to practice that and polish that, and that could be part of the 5-day challenge. Have them think of something, then have them write it 5 ways or 10 ways. Right, have them practice each out.
Yeah. To
see which feels comfortable, which they're most excited saying.
Yeah.
Right, and then record themselves doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And
then to get used to being on camera, and that might not be the end all product, but
well, and they can start just recording the audio of it,
right.
Because I think all of this, one of the biggest things is stepping them up in stages. So not going for 10 different ways to say the same thing first. Go with one way to say it, right? And and then record the audio of yourself saying that, and that's one day, just that little bit. And then the next day we can, step it up to, okay, here's a couple of other ways to say that, and have that be part of it. I would like the 5-day challenge, at least for this first one, to be as interactive as possible. I would like eventually for it to be automated so people can do it on their own.
And that's true. I didn't kind of specify that. With MVP stuff, like never automate until you know what works.
Exactly.
Right? And so this is something you'll be running personally,
Yes.
working like live with people, potentially doing.
Yeah, so people can post, their descriptions, and I can say, this is
Right.
great. Here's another way. Or what about if you were to talk about this thing? Or, what does that even mean? I have no idea.
Yeah, so technically a great way to run this before you get like core software would be to create a private Facebook group, especially if your audience is on Facebook.
Yep.
And then, post live sessions where people can chat to you or you get feedback, and then they can also post their daily work.
Yes.
Share that, right? And that's a great interactive way. And then you would be manually following up with people. Hey, I didn't see a post today. I'd love to hear how this is going for you. What's working for you or what's in your way, right? And that's where you get feedback on what's not working for people, etc. So that is how you do it live. And then the idea is like once you have something that consistently works, it's automated, and then all of a sudden you are more free to work with clients, and people who are interested are finding you because you've got that. And once you know it works in that, it's also easier to advertise because you know what offers resonate with people. So lots of benefits. So but like one of the things that as an instructional designer, I was thinking is like they're not going to do their whole intro the first day, right? No. But like do your first sentence, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever. Hi, I'm Alec. I do this for people.
Yeah.
Right? This is the benefit I give people, or this is my mission. This is the change I want to see in the world, etc. Like you have different ways of doing that. Just do that one-liner, but do it multiple ways, right? Because typically, and this goes back to an experiment that people have done many ways, but the one that sticks in my head most was just talking to an industrial designer in college, saying they ran an experiment with half the class, where half the class tried to polish one idea as much as they could, and another tried to produce as many ideas. And the consensus of the class was that
the ones who produced more,
right, got better ideas. And so it's like, if you certainly don't want to do something at a volume that's intimidating, but if you're just like, all right, one sentence, right, your introductory sentence, but you're going to do it 3 ways.
Yeah.
And at the end
3 ways I think is good.
Or whatever, right?
I think 10 might be a bit much,
whatever
but 3 sounds great.
Right? And then you're going to practice them all aloud, and then you're going to record the one that feels the best to you, like the most natural, the most authentic, that you're most excited about. You're going to record the audio of that or whatever, and then and then everything else will build on that, right?
Yeah.
That will be a part of your pitch or introductory video, just that one sentence. But you can also take that to networking. You can take that to whatever. You can, right? You can run them, if you want to milk that first one, you could have them do a visualization exercise. Like, all right, you've got this. Now, like, practice it and imagine yourself introducing yourself at a conference, right? Your avatar, right? The Japanese person who sells like specialty teas and wants access to distributors in the US, for example, right?
Yeah.
That example would be then, a person interested. What was the name of your avatar? I forget.
No, I forgot too.
It's always good to refer to them by names and they become a person. But anyway, they could introduce themselves as like, I help people save her life.
Nice.
With tea or something like that. Right?
Yeah.
Or something. Or you could just leave it mysterious, right? I help people save her life. That's what I do. Like, how do you do that? Rather than leading like, I make tea, people lead with a how, and you're like, oh, okay, I know what tea is. There's no mystery, there's no interest.
Yeah.
There's no, like, tea is nice. Okay, sure, why not? But like, I help people save her life. That sounds good. I want that. How do you do that, right? It's like the different psychology. Anyway, that's just digging into one, all right?
Yes.
And not to belabor that, we'll get back to the brainstorm. But, so, yeah, like the first line introduction, what are other milestones? I mean, in some ways, you also folded the getting comfortable recording yourself.
Yeah.
You're already starting that, and that's happening each day.
Yeah.
Right?
So, and this is where, let's see, I think, okay, so the approach, right? Starting that conversation. So how to approach somebody at a networking event or a conference or something like that. So
this is a 5-day challenge for networking?
That's the thing. I have so many different ideas. So like basically what I've got in my brain right now is I'm like, okay, there's, the approach, or I guess blah, blah, blah. Okay, starting again. So I have all of the things in my mind that people have told me over the last couple of years would be really helpful. And it is everything from, free talk conversation, that personal introduction, to listening and understanding what's being said at a native English speed. Because several of them have watched even these videos and they're like, oh my gosh, I have absolutely no idea what you two are saying. That's insane. How do you talk so fast? And
I feel that about Japanese people.
Right? See, that's, yeah. Although that's partially because Japanese has the highest syllable per second count.
Hey, way to go, Japanese
I know,
people.
You're amazing.
I feel like their words require more syllables.
They do. Yes. Makes
So
translation of songs very difficult.
Yes.
But yeah, it's one of those things. And so I'm like, I could have just a whole 5-day challenge on listening, right? And how to listen for things. But so like that's where I start to have too many ideas.
Well, and my question with that one then, right? So the listening to people thing and the fluency, that feels like something that requires more one-on-one coaching and diving in to really get good at it. More practice.
Yes, but there are ways to get started on that. And so that's one of the reasons why I thought that one might be good, because one, it's really hard. And two, there are certain strategies you can use that will help kind of cue you into whatever and help you with that listening more. That we could kind of do in a 5-day challenge, which might also then lead to people wanting to take a full course on listening.
Right.
So
all right, well, so let's. All right, before we get into the 5 challenges, maybe what we'll do today is we'll think of the different overall challenges, the different overall benefit we could do, and then tomorrow we can pick one and break that down into the specific wins.
Okay.
So I think we have one for like networking and introductions.
Yeah.
And a great win for that is probably like make an English contact this week.
Yeah.
Right? And so, and I don't, I don't know, again, like maybe eventually we can promise them like they will have a new contact at the end of this. Like someone will actually say yes to their connection, but we might finagle that. But like that would be the ideal, right? Like if you can make them one new business contact in English, that is a powerful thing. The right person could be worth, hundreds of thousands or millions, depending on the scale of their business, tens of thousands, right? It really depends on the scale of the business, but the right person could be a lot of money for their company. And the ability to be confident and have like a consistent process for making those contacts, even more valuable, right? So like that's one win. Another said you listen, but like what's the benefit of listening, right? What are they trying to do?
There's a few things. One, they're trying to like actually understand what the other person is saying and engage with them.
Right.
But
assuming, for instance, they don't necessarily have an English person on hand. Like if I wanted to work on my Japanese comprehension, right? A 5-day course, unless I have access. I mean, you could do that with them if it's live, or they could practice with that. But in a business context, right? I might want to be keeping up with industry news in English.
Yeah.
Right? And so that might be an example where you take a different industry or something like that every day and then work them through a strategy.
Yeah.
That's probably better for a live one.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like too,
right.
A lot of people just, fail to engage because of the fear of not understanding, because they've had enough experiences where they didn't understand or something like that, and so there's that huge intimidation when someone's speaking, and it's just the overwhelm of someone speaking at a native level speed, which is really hard for a lot of people.
So the comprehension could be, especially if you do like pre-test post-test type of thing, right, that you absolutely could promise that they understand industry news in English better, which is going to help them with getting into English markets. That's going to be a precursor. It will also help with their comprehension in languages if they're listening to good natural language resources. But like you're not necessarily like structuring a 5-day challenge such that, unless they have access to a native English speaker, that they have, like the comprehension in person is going to be a lesser outcome. Like you could say, like, get a testimonial of people later that this did help them do that later.
Yeah.
But
I think too, so like, I think these days it's 55% of the internet. It used to be even more, but 55% of the internet's in English. Yeah. And being able to access that in a way that's meaningful, and then also being able to contribute to that, obviously, I think would be really good. But
could be how to search in English. Could be one of the days.
Oh my gosh, how to do searches in English? Yes.
All right. So yeah, I mean that's basically like opening up the world of English language, like communication, right, and information to them. Yeah. For their business. So so that's the comprehension side. What other types of like business outcomes?
I'd like them to feel comfortable reaching out on something like LinkedIn, where they could, make a contact and say, hey, I saw you were, doing this thing. I'd be interested, so like, what are the different ways that, because they may not have a networking event coming up, right? Right. But LinkedIn is always there. And so,
well, I feel like that's the intro one, right? Yeah. That's like, you don't want them, the goal of this is not to have them be able to introduce themselves, right? The goal is to have them generate a quick win, a benefit. And confidence is great, but it's kind of wishy-washy, and it's hard to imagine when you feel unconfident. It's hard to visualize what confidence looks like sans results. Yeah. But saying like, make an English contact, English business contact this week. Yeah. And, especially if you have them crafting that introduction and then reaching out to like 10 people a day or something like that, right? And, guarantee that someone will connect. Or if you can get to the point where you could say like, everyone who goes through this 5-day challenge and does all the steps gets a connection this week. Yeah. Right? Like that's the outcome, right? So you want to think about the challenge not in terms of what they're doing, but what the outcome is. That's one of the reasons why I'm like not suggesting presentation, right? You could have one that deals with presentations, for example. That's because I know that's another genre. Yeah. But what's the outcome?
And that's one of the things that's hard, I guess, because I see it depending really on the person and
the presentation.
Exactly. I'm like, there's so many different kinds.
Focus on a type of presentation. Like what type of presentation do they need the most help with and why? This is like one of those market research questions, right? Yeah. That if you're gonna ask them about that, like, okay, you want help with presentations. Like, what presentation would you want help with? What are you gonna get out of that presentation?
Yeah. So, and I can think of a couple of different things. One would be, like a straight up like business pitch presentation, right? That we've talked about a lot in here. And then another one would be kind of a marketing presentation. So rather than trying to connect with, a business or a supplier or something like that, connecting directly with consumers.
Right. Very different cases. So I think those would be different 5-day challenges. Like here's the business pitch in English 5-day challenge. Okay. Right. And that, this is going to have you, confident and comfortable, in whatever pitch. It's going to make it so you have a compelling story and benefits, or I don't know. But like you want an outcome. And it's kind of hard to guarantee they'll get the pitch, right? Like they'll win whatever contract. And so like that is a tricky one to like, what outcome could you promise?
Yeah. Well, and I know there's a lot of people who they're not even at that pitching point yet, but I think if they felt comfortable enough to make the pitch, right?
Exactly.
In those 5 days, like that seems reasonable.
Right. Yeah. Get to the point where you're confident pitching your thing, and that might be it. Like, because chances are you're gonna have to pitch yourself more than once. Yes. Right. So get confident so that you can do it more. Right. Or you've been putting off this pitch because you're not confident in English. Here's a 5-day course to get your pitch down. Yeah. Get your pitch in English down so that you can pitch with confidence or whatever.
Yeah. Doing it without reading it.
Yeah.
Like that would be a huge one, I think. Right. Because I know a lot of people, like they'll make a great pitch, but they always are reading it. And that's fine when you're on, an audio only platform. But if you're actually doing anything in person and you're reading off of something as you're pitching, it's not going to be as effective.
Yeah. And so that's one case. And then marketing, very different thing,
very
right?
Different case.
And so like that might be the intro video or like intro blog. Maybe you have them produce a different piece of content working up to the intro video.
Yeah.
Right? Where you where like every day, they produce something, right? They produce, I don't know, like a tweet or like a micro blog, they produce a longer thing, they produce a video version of it, and you can kind of share some best practices. And, if this were a thing, and if we had all of these built out, for instance, I could easily see like, hey, someone who's interested in doing the intro, like now apply that in your business pitch or your marketing, with these free 5-day challenges, right?
Yeah.
But at each point, you could also have an upsell to like, hey, if you want to work with Meg, etc. So that's several ideas. So which of these? It's a combination of like, which of these things do you think you're ready for, but which do you think is also most pressing? Like people would be most excited for.
I think people would be most excited about the consumer 5-day one, honestly, the being able to just get their product, their idea, whatever, out to the world in English. So if we could guarantee a short YouTube video / TikTok or whatever that they could post on their socials in English, right, that they can share with the world, I think that would probably be most exciting for them, because a lot of them aren't at that pitching phase yet, but anybody can make a video about what it is that they're doing. And so I think that would probably be...
Yeah, great. So and then you have them make steps every day, right? Refine their pitch, just verbally and practice it.
Yeah.
Add pieces to it, add, overcoming objections at one point or whatever, and then have them, move from just practicing it to like recording or capturing it more and more until they've got a video on day 5. And you can, if someone were willing to let you videotape just their initial, like then do a before and after, that would be powerful.
That would be awesome.
So like that would be something to shoot with a live one, especially if you have friends in there. Like, would you be willing to like record your you're not gonna have to do this for the course, but like, could I record your first day one and then your 5-day one just to show, and that could be like a survey you send out, see how many people would be willing to do that. Anyway, so all right, so that marketing one, I think that's a great choice. And tomorrow we will work on brainstorming specifically out like what those 5 steps will be, what they're going to get out of them. If you have any bandwidth today to like send this to somebody who has, a quick turnaround or whatnot, like, where they would like to market, what service, what kind of service they would like to market, etc. What do they want to get out of marketing, kind of marketing goals that might help.
Okay.
What's been stopping them from doing that? All of those things would be great. But, some of that can spill over into Japan, and we can create a 5-day course on that. 5-day challenge on that. Yay. So, all right. Already 40 minutes. Wow.
I know.
When you really get into the weeds, the details of like, what are we going to do?
It goes fast.
Yeah, it goes fast. So I will do a quick business tip around user research. And the number one tip is, when you're doing market research, don't lead with what you want to build, because people will try and be accommodating, but they won't necessarily be honest. I don't think that people necessarily trying to be dishonest, but people have like natural instincts to try and be accommodating.
Yeah.
They look, if you tell them what you're doing, they will look for ways to agree with you, not dishonestly, but like, but they're trying to be positive. Versus if you actually ask them what they're doing, where their problems are, they will be very honest. And so an example of this, actually someone did this with me, was asking about an automated text to or voice to text note-taking software for my coaching sessions. And I actually said like, encourage people to take their own notes. One, because they'll learn more. I take my own notes, which have been sufficient for me, and I haven't had anyone ask me for like, I mean, sometimes people want a recording of it, but I haven't had someone ask me for the text, and he's like, oh, okay, well, that's what I was, I was thinking about doing, so it sounds like that's not a good fit for you. Interestingly, I have a client who did just ask for that thing, and I'm like, okay, I will think about that. I should get back to him about, okay, maybe that is more of a thing. But if he'd said that, right, if he'd said up front, like, hey, I'm thinking about doing a voice-to-text note-taking software for people, and, what do you think about that? I'd be like, oh, I could use that in this case, right? I would be trying to find ways to use it rather than like giving him an accurate summary of like the current systems that I were using at the time, which I was actually pretty happy with. Yeah. And it was definitely true at the time that I wouldn't have been searching, and this is, I think, where people get it wrong, that even if I said like, that would be cool, I could use it for that, I didn't actually have a pain point there, so I wouldn't have been searching for it. So even if it's a good idea, if people's pain point isn't sufficient that they're actually actively searching for that idea, it's gonna flop. And that's one of the pitfalls you run into if you lead with what you're doing. Yeah. So in Meg's case, this is not like, I'm doing a 5-day challenge on marketing, and more like, what kind of marketing do you do for your business? What kind of marketing would you like to do in English? Like, what are your obstacles to doing it? Yeah. What kind of outcomes do you think you would have if you had more English? And they're like, honestly, I just get a lot more English speakers that I can't handle right now because I don't have English customer service. Yeah. Right? And then you're like, oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah, that's like, a whole other problem.
So, right, and so you might surface things that they're not going to bring up if they're just trying to agree with you, like, that sounds great. Yeah. So yeah, lead with the questions, and then particularly something, I think that a lot of people in your area, like the feedback that you've given, in terms of, like, sometimes it's hard to know what to give people because they say, I want, they forward you, like, this is a great business English resource, but like, it's just how to do better English in general. Yeah. It's not like actually helping them specifically achieve their business goals. And that's kind of another one of the problems. Like, if you lead to, I'm working on an English thing, like, try to get them, I mean, they already know who you are many times, but like, try and, try and focus on what their business problems are and asking them about business problems. And that way you won't get these kind of red herrings about like, this is the English stuff. Yeah. Right? Because it's like, you already know how to teach English. What you need to know is how you can use that body of English knowledge to help them gain the fluency and confidence to drive business results. Yeah, definitely. So you actually don't want to be talking to them about English. You want to be talking to them about business. Yes. So, yep, that's the business tip for today. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, things that you would like to see, you could send the comments down below. We do create contents based on people's comments. You can join us live at 8 a.m. Central every weekday. And until tomorrow, make big changes, one small habit at a time.